Hello once again, friends, and welcome back to another episode of WVU Energy Express on West Virginia Public Broadcasting and YouTube. I'm your host, Zach Harold. If you can believe it, we've already reached our last week together. Now, no long faces quite yet because we still have a few more episodes before we have to say goodbye. This week, we're going to spend some time outside while the weather is nice and catch up with a few of our friends we haven't seen in a while. Today, we'll start off in Greenbrier County for a visit to Perk Farm Organic Dairy and meet up with our friend Josh. Josh is going to introduce us to some folks at the farm to teach us all about their organic dairy. Take it away, Josh.
Hi folks, I'm Josh Peplowski, WVU Extension Agent for Greenbrier County. And that's where we are here today, here on the farm. And in particular, the farm is Perk Farm Organic Dairy here in Frankfort, West Virginia. So today we're going to do a little bit of time in the kitchen, but we're also going to spend a little bit of time in the barn and learn a little bit about dairy. Every year, Americans consume about 25 gallons each of dairy and dairy products. And so we're going to go and see a little bit about where that comes from in particular, and especially here in West Virginia. So let's go see if we can find the farmer here at Perk Farm and find a little bit out about what they do here every day. Anybody in?
Hey, Josh, down here.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
You guys been busy this morning?
Very busy indeed.
Well, hey, we wanted to bring some kids out on the farm today that maybe they can learn a little bit about milk and where it comes from.
Perfect place to be. Let's go.
All right, Lauren, you got us down here in the milking parlor now. But before we go into the details, why don't you tell us a little bit about where we're at Perk Farm Organic Dairy?
Yeah, so my name is Lauren Perkins. I'm fourth generation on this farm with my dad, Rem. So we are primarily a dairy farm. We milk around 300 Jersey cows. We also have a herd of 100 cows of beef cows, and we also are crop farmers. So with that, in the parlor right now, we're milking what's called a 24 swing parlor. So we can milk 24 cows at a time. It takes us about an hour to milk 150 cows. So we spend about 4 hours a day in this parlor, and the rest of the time we're out with the cows on the pasture.
Wow, that's fantastic. So how much will one of these cows produce?
So an average Jersey cow is going to produce about 30 to 40 pounds of milk per day for us.
So you guys are organic, and that means your cows are out on grass most of the time, right?
Yep, so our cows are in the milking parlor to be milked, and after that they're out on grass. So our cows spend during the day mostly on grass, as well as into the night as well. But we make sure they're fed and happy between the grass and the mixed feeds we feed them, and that's what helps us produce all this lovely milk.
So that would be one thing that on a conventional confinement type dairy, those cows do produce a whole lot more. That's where we produce that 22 billion pounds a year. A good chunk of that is coming from conventional, where those cows do produce a lot more. But these girls here, they get to luxury out on the grass, and they just don't have to produce as much.
So Josh is right. Our cows don't produce as much milk, but what's in their milk is what's really important to us. The proteins and the fats are what help make string cheese, mozzarella, as well as butter, which I think we're going to make today at the house, Josh.
That's going to be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
So when we milk a cow, it looks like we've got containers up here. Do we keep track of measuring how much these cows produce, and where does it go to after that?
So each cow has a identification tag that they wear, and as they enter the back of the parlor to be milked, it recognizes who she is. It records how much milk she gives so that we know on average about how much milk our cows give. So after the cows finish being milked, the milk transfers itself into the tank room where the milk is filtered and cooled down before the milk truck comes to pick it up every day.
Let's go take a look at that.
Wesounds good.
All right, Lauren, you brought me into the milk room. So what is all this stuff?
Yeah, so this is one of the most important parts of the milk room. So we were just in the parlor and saw where the cows are being milked and where the milk goes there. So then it comes into this room through the pipes above, comes into the filter system. So this filters out anything that would have gotten into the milk while we were milking them, and just to make sure the milk is extra clean. So once we get the milk clean, it goes back up and around the pipes and goes over to this device. So this is a 2-stage plate cooler. This is what cools the milk down. So when a cow gives milk, it comes out of her at about 100 degrees. So with this 2-stage plate cooler, we're able to cool the milk down to about 60 degrees before it goes into the milk tank. So behind us, Josh, is a 6,500 gallon milk tank that we use to store all the milk. So this milk tank right now is holding milk that we milked the cows from this morning, and right now it's at about 37 degrees. So it's taking the milk from the cow at about 100 degrees, and in the tank now it's 37 degrees.
That's awesome. And so how often do you sell milk? Or I guess the milk truck comes and picks up?
So our milk truck comes every day to pick up milk from us, and he takes it to Virginia to have it processed, and there it either becomes milk in a gallon jug, butter, or cheese.
You're going to teach us a little bit about making butter and cheese, right?
Absolutely. You can do this at home, just with products you can buy at the store.
All right, so let's go and let's spend a little bit of time in the kitchen, and let's do some experiments.
Sounds good.
So folks, we've made our way into the kitchen now to do a little bit of experimenting, and we're going to do some things that you at home can do as well. So obviously most of us go to the store, purchase our butters, maybe our cheeses, and obviously we all go to the store to pick up our fresh gallon of milk there. But today we're going to take those and we're going to break those that apart into what we have as our milk components. So milk itself is about 87% water, and the other remaining factor is where our solids come from. So our two main categories of solids is our fats and our proteins. So obviously with our fats we end up with our butter. So there's our 1 pound of butter that we here in America produce about 3 billion pounds of butter a year from our dairy producers do. And then obviously our protein portion we can break out into casein and whey, and that is where we're going to get our cheeses from. So today we're actually going to show you how at home you can make your own butter and your own cheeses there from those milk products that you buy there at the store. So let's kind of branch in and we'll get started on the first one.
So with this, we're gonna make butter. So butter is a really simple thing to make at home. You only need 1 ingredient, maybe 2 if you like your butter salted as opposed to unsalted. So for this, you need to use heavy whipping cream. This is a pint jar or pint container of heavy whipping cream. You can use as much as you want. The more you put into your mixer, the longer it takes to do. So with this, make sure and shake it really good. So we're using heavy whipping cream because this is what has the fats in it. So when we actually make the butter, we're getting 2 components. We're getting the actual butter itself, but also buttermilk. So if you've ever heard of buttermilk pancakes, this is where you get it from. So with this, you're pouring in your heavy whipping cream. So this process of making the butter takes, with what we're doing, it's about 5 minutes. So, and within that 5 minutes, you will really be able to see the milk separate or the cream separate and to see what's going on. So we're gonna turn the mixer on now, do it at a low setting to start out with to kind of get acclimated. I would suggest having something to cover your mixer with just to keep the splash down. And then I do use the whip section of the KitchenAid mixer to do it. That really is good at separating the cream. So as you can see here, we're mixing. This process takes about 5 minutes, and we'll come back when we've got some butter ready for you. So it's been a few minutes, and as you can tell, we went through pouring the heavy whipping cream in. It started to turn into whipping cream like you would put on a dessert, and now we are in the butter stage. So with the butter stage, we're getting the 2 components. We're getting the actual butter itself as well as the buttermilk. So we're gonna let go for a few more minutes, and then when we get done, we will show what we've got. And here we have it. So when I tilt it up, This is the butter. So you really can't feel it, but it's pretty firm to the touch. And what's in the bowl is the remnants of the buttermilk that you can also save and use in your food. So now the process is we're gonna remove the butter, put it in a cheesecloth, and the cheesecloth is meant to squeeze out the rest of the moisture that's inside the butter right now. So you do wanna do this in a somewhat ice bath. So having the butter be cold makes it a lot easier to mold and shape. And then once we get that, we will separate the rest of the butter into its shape we form and put the buttermilk in a jar to put back into the fridge.
So we've made our butter, and now we're gonna go to the next component of that milk, and that is our protein. So for that protein, like we said, we have casein and whey. So we're gonna show you how, Lauren's gonna show you how to separate that out, and we can make our own homemade mozzarella. So we're gonna put that recipe up there for you all at home that may want to make that yourself. So we're not gonna repeat the amount of ingredients that we're putting in here today, but we're gonna start off with
the milk, most important thing. So when you're doing the milk, we have a Dutch oven that I put the milk into that I had in the refrigerator. So this milk, it's best to use whole milk for this because you want all of the fats and proteins that are in that in making the cheese. So you put your milk in a Dutch oven, you are covering it, and you're gonna heat this to 126 degrees. So by heating it, you are warming up the milk particles so they're able to separate. So when we get to 126 degrees, using your thermometer, we will come back and update you on where we go next from there. So our boiling point reached 126 degrees with the milk in the pot. So we have added our cup of vinegar to it. So now we are going to stir, and once you look, we're already making some cheese. So using the vinegar is what separates the proteins in the milk. And by doing this, it allows us to pick out the things that make up the cheese. So basically what we're gonna do now is we've taken the milk off of the heat. So we are going to separate the cheese from the other products that are in here, and we're gonna stretch the curd. We're gonna add some salt and baking soda to get the elasticity that makes mozzarella the best string cheese ever. So we're back. We have put the cheese into a separate bowl, and now we've added the baking soda and salt. So we've also let this set for about an hour. So now we're coming back to it. So in this process, we're basically gonna take the cheese and we're going to mix in the salt and baking soda. So this process shouldn't take very long, but in doing this, we are just making the cheese have the salty taste to it. So in this process, it may look a little bit mushy right now, but this is part of the process. So by mixing in the salt and baking soda, we are changing the texture of the cheese. So after we do this, we're gonna let it set for another hour. Then after that hour, we're gonna add in some butter, and then we'll be able to stretch the curd to make it to where it is a more solidified product. So we finished with our butter and our cheese, and we're just gonna show you what we came up with. So this is the mozzarella cheese we created. So it hasn't quite solidified yet, so time is your friend on this. So this is one that we have finished. This mozzarella that we're making is a very soft cheese, so this will not be anything hard, but as you can see, still very soft to eat. And if you harden it enough, it can become pretty stringy as well, but still perfect to eat, with salt if you'd like it as well. So with the butter, we've also finished. So I didn't mold the butter, but we strained it out in the cheesecloth, and as you can tell, we did add salt to this as well. So all you would need now is a butter knife to scoop up some butter, and you're ready to go. So that is how you take milk from the milk tank and the cows and make your very own products at home. Enjoy.
I don't know about you guys, but I have a sudden craving for some mozzarella cheese. Next, we're going to catch up with our friend Emily, who's going to show us how to make our own garden using containers.
Hi, I'm Emily Morrow, and I'm Jefferson County Agriculture and Natural Resources Extension Agent. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how to garden in containers. So there's lots of different options you can use when gardening in containers, and most of the fruits and vegetables we like to eat do well in the small space. I like to use recycled materials. I have cats myself, so I like to use cat litter containers, but the container itself needs a little bit of prep work before we can add our plants to it. All plants need to have drainage space, meaning we need to put some holes either in the bottom or the side of the buckets. If this is going to be sitting on a patio on top of concrete, it works best if you put holes on the side. I'm going to do both, so with the help of an adult, you're going to need to ask that they work a power tool with as big of a drill bit as they can find to drill those holes. So now that I've drilled holes into my container, so if I water my plant too much or if we get a lot of rain, the water will have a place to go and it won't drown out my roots. Our next step is to add soil into our buckets. And you have a couple options for this too. You can use a bag mix or you can use some garden soil. Garden soil alone is going to be really, really heavy and very hard to pick up. So to make it a little lighter and make it a better space for plants to grow in these containers, you'll need to add some materials to it. We recommend you add a little compost to a garden soil in addition to something that's going to give the plants a nice airy space for their roots to spread out. I like to use a product called perlite, which is just basically tiny little white balls that go into the soil and increase the airspace. So here I've added the perlite to a regular garden soil. This soil already has a little bit of compost in it too to give the plants all the nutrients they need. And then you'll just want to mix it up with your hands before you plant anything in it. Next, you want to add your soil to your container. In this container, I've used a bagged potting mix. And the difference is this one's going to be really easy for me to move versus the regular soil. It's going to take a lot more strength. I prefer to use the bag mix too, just because it's more readily available. After you get your containers set up with your soil, then you're going to want to think about what plants you want to transplant or seed. This is really going to come down to what it is your family likes to eat. At my house, we like to eat tomatoes, so that's what I'm going to be transplanting. I have a couple of different options of transplants so you can see the difference. When you're out in the store, if you're buying your transplants or if you're choosing ones that you've started at home with your parents, you want to pick ones that are about this size. But sometimes that's not always a possibility, and you get ones from the store that are a little bit bigger in size. If these are the ones you're going to be transplanting, the best thing to do is actually to pinch off these flowers so your plant can spend all its energy putting down new roots and getting adapted to its new environment, and less energy on setting fruit, which is what the next step with the flowering stage is going to be. As you remove your plant from your container, you want to break up the root ball. This one is a little bit bigger, so it's got a lot of extra roots. We want to be careful not to break any of these. I think this is the most fun part. And loosen all the soil around the plant as much as you can. Next, you need to make a space for your plant to be transplanted in. I like to take a little bit of soil out with the cup I just removed my plant from, and then put it in the center of the pot and add that soil back in. My soil's a little dry, so I'm going to want to make sure it gets a nice drink of water before it's ready to go in a perfectly sunny location. This is a tomato plant, so it might need a little help with staking later in the season, which you can look around your yard and find sticks to put in the pot with it and help secure it so it, as the tomatoes start coming into the plant, it has enough space to go. And in this bucket, we have a regular garden soil mixed with a little bit of compost and some perlite. But like in the last example, you don't have to use transplants. Maybe you want to plant seeds directly into the ground. If you're starting plants directly from seed, you're going to want to look at your seed packet. Your seed pack is going to tell you exactly how deep to plant the plant, and since we're using containers, most seed packets will tell you what size container is going to be the best. This is a pepper plant, and it does really great with one plant in a 12-inch container, which is what we have here. This is another example of a popular container plant, would be a bean. Now, if you're thinking about planting green beans, you might want to look for a bushing variety because it's not going to need a lot of support. This seed packet doesn't tell us how many plants would be best for this size container, but I was able to find through our resources through WVU Extension that beans particularly are okay with anywhere from 4 to 6 plants per container. And if they get a little too crowded, you can always thin them out later. That's part of what gardening is a learning experience. So that's what I'm going to direct sow are going to be some beans. So I'm going to make a small hole with my finger, and I'm going to put 5 in this container because it's round, and I can put 4 around the sides, and then I have space to put 1 in the center. And because we added this perlite, which is this tiny little white stuff, our beans will have plenty of space to move their roots through the soil. And since this is a garden soil, I have some rocks and some roots left over in here. I just want to pick those out as I find them. If I look really carefully, I might see some bugs too. So a good mixture for a container garden would be about half soil, about 1/3 compost, and then the other 20% or 25% would be either this perlite material or some other organic material like pieces of twigs or leaves that would help create some space so your soil won't get super dense and compacted. We want our plants to have plenty of room to grow. So last I would water this in and put it in a bright sunny location that gets 6 to 8 hours and wait for my plants to sprout in about 7 to 10 days. So that's a little bit about how to get started growing in your own containers. Whether you're using a transplant like a tomato or whether you're using a seed, there's lots of different options that you can use in your own garden, like lettuces, peppers, squashes, beans, and tons of different options. The key is really to find some things that you can recycle and reuse. That's going to keep it a lot more fun for you, and think about the crops that you want to grow and that you like to eat. So get out and get growing.
It's too nice outside to head in just yet, so let's catch up with our friend Amy, who's going to lead us on a walk around some community pathways.
Hi, I'm Amy Cook. I'm the Family and Community Development Agent for WVU Extension Service in Braxton and Clay counties. I'm here with my family today. We're going to take you on an adventure on the Elk River Trail.
Some of my favorite pieces of the trail is the community park and trailhead that we have here in Clay. You can see there's a bike fix-it station. And then as you come around, there's river access, a natural playground, a community garden. Isn't there some beautiful scenery here? Another amazing piece of the trail are these little exercise stations that we put in. Some people like to walk, bike, float, but other people like a more vigorous workout, so we put in some stations where they could get that in. This is our sit-up board. You have 2 options here. You can lay like Wyatt is, lift your legs up, or you can lay the other direction and lift up your upper body. These are our dual exercise bars. He's challenged himself to get 1,000 of these in. Do you think he's gonna make it? You might notice behind him there's a picnic table. That's another great thing about the Elk River Trail system. Plenty of spaces to rest for those that need it. That makes it really nice for all ages and abilities to participate in the trail.
Can't let you go without taking a trip into the kitchen and see what our friend Molly's cooking up. Let's go see what she's got for us today.
Hi, I'm Molly with West Virginia University Extension Family Nutrition Program, and today we're going to make a kid-friendly snack that all ages could take part in. We're going to make peanut butter granola pinwheels, and this recipe could be easily modified to include different ingredients to appeal to anybody's taste. So we need honey, peanut butter, granola, and some tortillas. I am using whole wheat tortillas so that we can up the fiber content, add in that healthy whole grain. And I've got creamy peanut butter, but you could also use chunky. You could also use Nutella, you could use almond butter, wow butter. And then I have a lower sugar granola that I found too. We've got plenty of sweetness in our peanut butter and honey that we don't need a lot of added sugar with our granola. So first thing we're gonna do is take our tortilla and spread some peanut butter on it. Then we're gonna add our granola. And the recipe calls for a half a cup granola to be used over 2 tortillas. So I'm just gonna use about half. And then a little drizzle of honey. And now we're gonna roll it up. And if you find that this doesn't stick together very well, you could always pop it in the refrigerator for a few minutes before you cut it. And then cut it down the middle first. And we're using a serrated knife. That makes it easier so it doesn't squish it down too much. And look how cute and fun that is. So I'm gonna finish cutting these, do our second one, and then they're ready to enjoy. Here's our 2 tortillas that are rolled up and ready to go. This is a great snack. We've got our plant-based protein with the peanut butter, the fiber with the whole grain tortillas, and all the good stuff that's in our granola. So this would be a great snack that kids can make. Thanks so much for watching today, and we'll see you again real soon for some more fun recipes.
We've been pretty active today, and I gotta say, I really needed that sunshine. Why don't you all go rest up, and we'll see you right back here later in the week for our final episode of the season. Until then, have a great rest of your day.